Alright guys, I'm going to pull the car up on the ramp, so this is the last time you're going to hear it stock. Just for safety, we're going to take this long board here. Set it across the tires of block till we get it on jack stands. Alright guys, now before we start this job, I'm going to point out a few important tools we're going to need to remove the old exhaust and put the new one on. One, and most important, is a pair of safety glasses. You're going to need these when you're using the sawzall to cut your old exhaust. Second, and the second most important, is an exhaust hanger remover, because you'll spend hours with a screwdriver and WD-40. I also have my socket tray, which I like to keep pretty loaded up with just about anything you could possibly need. And then we'll move over to jack stands for the rear, since the front are going to be on ramps. Alright guys, so here in this large box that's packaged to the T, we're going to go ahead and start pulling out the new components. So let's get that done. And that's like that, guys. So I'm going to tell you what, unpacking this Mountune system out of the box is probably going to take longer than the install itself. But as you can see, we've unpacked some beautiful equipment here. Let's get some sun on there. Let's go take a look. As you guys can see here, we've got our rear muffler section. We've got our over axle pipe. We've got our front connection V-band pipe. And we've got our midsection here. And then with all that comes with all the goody V-band clamps and everything else needed for install. So with that, let's get back to the Focus, get it up on some stands in the rear, and get to work. Oh, and by the way guys, don't worry about taking your stock flap opener off of your exhaust, because the Mountune unit does come with a brand new one. So now that we've got the car in the air, the first thing we're going to do before we take the old exhaust system off is unclip the harness here, which requires you to pull back on it and unclip it just like every other standard hook that Ford comes with. Once we have that, now we can go ahead and move into cutting the exhaust. Alright guys, now that I'm more than certain knowing that not a lot of people like to do destructive things to their cars, especially when changing out parts, unfortunately the only way to do that would be to drop this whole rear subframe to not have to cut the exhaust. So what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to make it cut it, but we're going to want to make it salvageable with just a little connector. So keep in mind you want to cut in front of the hanger, but enough past the bend so you're on the straight. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a mark right here to cut the exhaust right when it turns to a straight, but leaves me about 2 inches in case I ever did want to just put a split connect and go back to exhaust, the stock exhaust. Alright guys, so I do know that my channel is quite diverse with people, and some things that may be obvious may not be so obvious to other people. And one thing I'd like to make sure is that, and if anybody does do this and you're using a reciprocating saw like I am, I like to use the battery one, it's easier to handle, lighter. Make sure that you do get a metal tooth blade, and at minimum a 14 TPI blade, which is 14 teeth per inch. That's going to make your cut so much smoother and straighter, and it's not going to jump around on you. So you want to get kind of the finest tooth metal cutter here that you can for your reciprocating saw. So with that said, first thing we're going to do is put on some safety glasses, because there will be a little metal flaking off. And then we're going to go ahead and start cutting the stock exhaust at the marked point that I showed you earlier. Now, it's a little hard at an angle here since I'm not on a hoist, but we'll see if we can't get it in. We're right on my mark here, so we'll go with it here. We're all the way through. And now with the exhaust cut, we're going to go ahead and move to the front of the car and get that T-band clamp off so we can separate this whole section in one piece off to the cut. Alright guys, now while using a 3/8 ratchet, 6-inch extension, and a 15mm deep well socket, we're going to go ahead and loosen this front V-band. Just a standard loosen counterclockwise. Loose it till it's hand loosened, pull the ratchet off and loosen it up by hand. I'm going to try not to take it off. Usually that kind of leads to a worse situation, so just keep that on. And may have to get a pry tool, maybe some lubricant. Nope. So there we go. Clip that off. Now we can go ahead and loosen this. One thing to note on these V-band clips is that the washer that comes off with them is symmetrical to the V-band. As you can see, it goes inward, so you want to make sure when you tighten it down that that is facing inward to the V-band. So now we can take this clip, and it's actually got a stock feature on it where we can separate it a little bit to get the exhaust off. Now at this point we will be using our removal tool here to get this center piece out, which is pretty simple to use when you have the tool. I do not advise using any kind of screwdrivers or anything with this. It makes it nearly impossible. So just push it right through, and that's all you got to do. Spend about 25 minutes on that with a screwdriver and some lubrication. So now that we've pushed that through, pull it away from the actual clamp here. We'll be able to pull the exhaust down. Alright guys, now we've removed that midsection pipe out of the car. It's a stock hanger location. Hanger's still in the vehicle. That's going to take us all the way up to the V-band clamp at the very end of the downpipe. Now let's go to the rear part of the exhaust where 3 more V-band clamps hanging and the muffler. Now as you can see, right where we made the cut, we have one more isolator up there that we'll get out with the tool, and then we'll be moving on to the rear section of the muffler. Alright, now that we've moved that second isolator, we have 2 more. One on the right side of the face of the bumper, and one over here on the left side. And we're going to be careful when doing this, because when we take these off, the rear muffler will fall, so make sure you have some assistance. Now I know there were some people that wanted to see the difference between the Mountune unit and the exhaust unit that came on its stock, so I'm going to go ahead and show that. First off, we have a much larger canister on the stock exhaust, the stock muffler here. You can also see the shape of the stock is kind of a oblong oval, where when we go over to Mountune's unit, you can see the shape is an exact oval. Now I'm going to go get the scale, because I did have one of my subscribers on YouTube want to know the difference in the weight between the 2 mufflers. So let's weigh the stock muffler. We already know that the aftermarket Mountune only weighs about 19.5 pounds. Let's see what the stock comes in at. So it may be hard to see, but the stock muffler is coming in at about 22 pounds, 21 to 22 pounds. So there is a big weight. Now I'm going to repeat the process of how we took the stock one off by putting the Mountune unit back on, except for one occasion, which will be the V-band on the actual muffler itself. Alright guys, now that we got everything secured for the Mountune exhaust, let's take a little tour. So here's the connection at the downpipe, which leads all the way to its first connection, which is a split, and then goes up and over the axle to the V-band right on the muffler. And here's the rear end pose. This is off the ground obviously, but really straight. Measured both sides and the tops. They are both completely even. Look all the way over here. Actually doesn't stick out as far as the stock exhaust, but enough to let you see that laser engraved Mountune emblem right there on the top. So definitely, is it a quality exhaust by putting it together? Yes. I've put together a few exhausts in my life, and this is definitely by far one of the larger quality exhausts I've ever dealt with in my entire life. Look at that fit in that circle. That is perfect. It's a perfect fit, and it's just a little bit in, so I don't have the pipe sticking out as far as the stock did, which I happen to like a lot more. I always thought they stuck out a little bit too far. So now that we have everything installed, tightened up, the last thing we have to do is reconnect the flap on the passenger side, and then we're ready to get on the floor and take a listen. I'm sure that's what you've all been waiting for. See, the vehicle is all done, just on the ramps right now. The exhaust is fully put in. I haven't even started it myself or heard it. So let's pull it off the ramps here and let's all experience starting this brand new exhaust. I'm gonna have to say that's a further win. Well, if you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope you did, give me a thumbs up. I spent a lot of time on this modification and made sure that I got the noise and the sound of the car out to you guys first. But what I haven't done is an in-car and out-of-car review, which I plan on doing, probably posting Monday, maybe possibly Sunday of this week. So if you guys could, make sure you hit that subscription button and notifications so you'll be notified as soon as a video posts. And I appreciate you guys being here. Again, make sure you subscribe, leave a comment, let me know what you think, and I'll see you guys on the next one. All right?